So, Andrew, what's your opinion of this relatively new theory on weight set point?
So the weight set point theory, I think, is something that really explains what our patients are describing to us. This feeling that their weight is set at an unhealthy level and that when they try and diet or exercise their way out of it, the weight just comes back to this setting. And it's almost, they seem set in stone. You can't run away from it and you can't diet away from it. And the theory suggests that, each individual has their own weight setting and it's dependent on your genes. So, some people are from families that suffer with obesity. It's from this new area of epigenetics. So what happens when we're in the womb? They have signals changing our DNA. And it's also dependent on our food environment. So the types of food, whether it's ultra-processed foods and stress as well. I think it's a great theory, and I think it does fit in with what patients experience. They can lose weight on a diet, but then they increase weight back to where they were before. But actually, also they say they go a bit higher. And my take on that is that, you're signaling to your body that you're in some sort of starvation, famine environment. So when the food comes back, when you come off the diet, the body's got that message. There may be a famine in the future. Let's just put a little bit extra energy storage in there. That's why they end up even higher than when they went on the diet in the first place. Many of our patients who are living with obesity try and get out of their problem by what we tell them to do, go on a diet. How does that affect their bodies and their metabolism?
That's something we see all the time in the clinics. I don't think there is a right or wrong diet. A diet that works for the individual works the best for them. I feel that patients we see in the clinics, they've got strong willpower because they are putting themselves through dieting and dieting all over again. We see them in the clinic. They say, I've been dieting all of my life. And they actually show amazing willpower being able to do that over and over again. But as you know, going into weight loss, going into starvation mode, that slows down your metabolism, and essentially weight loss plateaus. What tends to happen afterwards is patients will lose motivation, will lose the psychology, and they will stop and they will weight regain, and sometimes the set point will be higher than it was initially, and they will end up gaining more weight than before they actually started dieting.
Yeah, I agree that as you lose weight and go further away from your weight set point, your body wants to pull you back to that set point. And the reaction of the body is twofold. One is it wants to encourage you to put energy back in. So you get these hormones from the intestine, GLP-1, PYY, ghrelin. These are all changed around to give you actually a voracious appetite and actually decrease your satiety. So you keep on eating. You never feel full. And then the next one is that your metabolism is decreased. So you feel very lethargic. So these signals really change the way you feel and the way you behave. They're very powerful in changing behavior. So willpower of people on diets has to be amazing. I am amazed when they can lose 2-3 stone on a diet, and the body's trying to pull them back. So yeah,
we see a lot of studies now done looking into very low calorie diets, and as you know, a very low calorie diet means less than 1,000 calories per day, which is really difficult to follow, particularly over prolonged periods of time. But these lifestyle interventions don't work long. They tend to fail. And as you very nicely explained, the reason for that is that our bodies will try to counter this stress environment for them, the starvation environment, the diet environment, and it will slow down basic metabolic rate, diet-induced thermogenesis. And as we lose weight, that set point is actually changes, and it's actually the tendency is to go back to the normal.
And higher.
And higher, yes.
And I think there's some evidence that if you go on a very low-calorie diet, even after you've regained the weight, when you've finished the diet, your appetite hormones are higher than before. So this is what, and a lot of people who've been on diets recurrently say, I seem to be getting much hungrier and hungrier and hungrier, and my willpower needs to be stronger and stronger and stronger, yes, because it's working against you. So diets, I think, work against you.
Exactly. It's your body's counter-regulatory mechanism to avoid you from moving from the set point. So it produces appetite-increasing hormones, ghrelin. It reduces the release of appetite-suppressing hormones like GLP-1, PYY, oxyntomodulin, and many others. And you're bound to go back to your original set point. It's really hard, and it fails. Yeah. And I'm sure you see a lot of these patients in your clinic. I see them as well.
it's almost like you're tied by a post, that's your set point, to an elasticated band,
Yes.
and you can run away from it. And the further you get away, the stronger the pull back. And then when you lose incentive to be on a diet, it just comes back, snaps back.
Exactly.
But the further you get away, the more difficult and the more severe the reaction.
Yes.
George, what do you think happens within our bodies when we go on a low-calorie diet and start to lose weight?
So obviously we take less energy in and we start losing weight. But as we described previously, we're bound by the set point theory. So our bodies will prevent us from continuously losing weight, and they will try to counter this situation by reducing the release of certain appetite suppressing hormones. So they will make us want to go back to our usual weight. There will be release of ghrelin, the hunger hormone, released in the stomach by the G cells. And there will be less release of appetite suppressing gut hormones like GLP-1, released by the L cells with oxyntomodulin, PYY, and cholecystokinin in the duodenum. And that will reduce our satiety, a feeling of satiety, and then we will gradually weight plateau and start gaining weight. So the efficacy of the intervention will be hampered over time. What do you think changes during a diet?
I agree. I think you get this complex interaction of all these little hormones that actually produce an increased appetite and decreased metabolism. But I think the master controller of that is leptin. So this hormone that comes from your fat cells, when you start to lose weight, actually immediately when you're on a diet, your leptin level goes down and your brain senses it and thinks, well, okay, the tank is becoming empty quite fast. And then the hypothalamus, the weight control center, acts to produce all these hormonal changes that would then give us behavioral changes, signals on how to behave. And these hormones and peptides, they control us. There's a difference in the way we act from being a child to a teenager to an adult to an old person from a sex hormone point of view. Massive differences. And these differences, I think, they change our behavior massively. It's not your character, it's actually what the body wants, how it's controlling you.
Yes. We're bound to biology. And what changes to energy expenditure happen during this process?
Yeah. So I think on the basis of decreasing your basal metabolism, so the amount of energy that you use before you move, that can be very dynamic, and you can almost turn down that dimmer switch of energy. And I think that's produced by changes in your autonomic nervous system. So this is the nervous system that we learn in medical school as the fight or flight response. So when you get in a situation where there is a threat, you get this stimulation of the sympathetic nervous system. Fight, you feel strong, or flight, you want to run, but you can run really fast. And then on the other aspect is when you're relaxing and you feel very relaxed, your blood pressure's down. So we're taught that that system is for survival. But actually, the secondary aspect of that system is to preserve or use up energy. So when you go on a diet, you will go into that parasympathetic response. You won't use up much energy, your pulse is low. Whereas when you overeat, your blood pressure's high, over metabolizing and getting rid of that extra food that you've eaten to try and keep you back at the set point.
So what you're saying is essentially that as you lose weight, your energy requirements drop, your basic metabolic rate is lower. So in order to continue losing weight, you have to reduce even further the amount of food you eat, which is extremely difficult, especially if you're on a very low-calorie diet already.
I had a patient who had been living with obesity for many years. Maybe she was 25 stone, and she did really, really well with willpower, and went down to 1,200 kilocalories a day, but she was on it for a year. And she went from 25 stone to 16 stone. She came to my clinic because she was still overweight. And she was complying with 1,200 kilocalories a day, but her weight was totally stable at 16 stone. Her body had adapted to the low calories.
Exactly.
What do you think we've learned from this episode, George?
I think we very clearly demonstrated that we're bound by biology in a specific weight range. Our bodies are predetermined to reach. This is due to genetics, epigenetic changes, and it's really difficult to move that set point despite interventions, lifestyle interventions and pharmacotherapy or other interventions at weight loss. What is your view, Andrew?
So I think we've learned that the weight set point theory is probably not a theory, it's probably true, and that it explains exactly what our patients are telling us. They can yo-yo down and up in weight, but they're always at this particular set weight, and that set point is determined by our genes, epigenetics, this new science, but also the environment and the quality of food and of highly processed food that we have or not the calories.
Obesity.
The big truth.